Hello, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to the Sporty Show. 3 full days without seeing you guys, so it feels like a long time. Welcome back. Another weekend of football has come and gone, and more drama continues, as it always does, as we inch closer and closer to the end of the season. I'm your host, Sara, and as always, I'm joined by the one, the only, KlintonCod.
Yes, that's the one, yeah. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Wakwan, what is going on? Today is a beautiful day the Lord has made for us to enjoy everything that's happened in the last weekend. Amazing football, a lot of goals that Alex will be sharing with us at some point. Hopefully, I don't get disappointed in his selection this time. But then again, let's introduce Alex. Alex, Wakwan, man, what is going on?
You set me up for a lot of pressure. No, I think you'll like this week's goals. Obviously, a few Real Madrid ones in there.
I mean, there's one. There's one from Real Madrid, and there is also one from our usual guy from Real Betis. But let me. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see which number. I want to know. I want to know which number that one gets on.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Get us on our toes, Alex.
And it's not just the three of us. Shantelle on social media today, and you're going to be avoiding a certain topic of Trent Alexander-Arnold.
No, I won't.
Being announced as Real Madrid player today.
No,
I think
won't.
they've already changed the Wikipedia page.
I won't avoid it because I feel like I've accepted it a very long time. So I don't think I'll stray from that one for sure. But yes, I'm here and I'm looking forward to see what you guys have to say on social media. And of course, I'll be picking the best ones. But before we move on, Clinton, I have to just do a real quick lesson. Wagwan. Every time you speed it up, I'm like...
I think the most important thing is, do they know what I'm trying to say? If they understand
Did you say that just now?
What Hagwan, brother? Wagwan. What Hagwan and Wagwan, what's the difference?
The difference... Okay, there's no difference, but the Wagwan, you say it too fast. Like, you butcher it.
Yeah, but we don't have time on this show. That's the reason
Okay.
video up, you see?
Okay.
Because I don't want Sarah saying, Clinton, your Wagwan. Like, imagine me saying, wow.
No, you don't have to say it like that, but it's just emphasis.
Oh, no, stop.
And we've only got an hour today.
All right, let's move right along, because Alex did mention we do only have an hour today, and we do have a very special interview to show you, as well as Alex and I caught up with Jonathan Wilson of The Guardian, who did write a very interesting article on Real Madrid. We'll get to that momentarily, but this is what's coming up on Sporty TV this week. As you know, we have the UEFA Women's Under-17 Championship. So after the show today, it's Poland versus Italy, and later on, the Baller League is back in action. Tomorrow to the J League, we have Urawa Reds versus Gamba Osaka, Kindoa versus Shenzhen Peng, Allianz Lima versus Sao Paulo in the Libertadores, and then back to the J League for Kyoto Sanga versus Cerezo Osaka. On Wednesday, Faroe Islands versus Austria in the Women's Under-17 Championship. Al Raid versus Al Hilal over in the Saudi League, as well as Al Nasser and Al Ittihad. And then we head back to the Libertadores for Bahia versus Nacional and Cerro Porteño versus Palmeiras. On Thursday, Italy taking on France, as well as Spain versus Poland in the Under-17 Championship. And we also have Bristol City and Sheffield in the EFL Championship. Talleres, Alex, I want the Talleres versus Libertad. Coventry versus Sunderland. Kashiwa versus Okayama. Leyton Orient versus Stockport. And in the Prem, it is Southampton taking on Manchester City. Netherlands versus Faroe Island. And Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga. Cerezo Osaka back in action again against Yokohama. Racing versus Oviedo. Italy versus Spain. And Real Betis and Clinton's main man, Anthony, taking on Osasuna this weekend in La Liga. So we have a lot of football on Sporty TV this weekend. As per usual, we have you guys covered. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. But let's jump right in, Alex, into Real Madrid.
Yeah, let's go for it. Lots of fun action. Playoffs. Who's going to be in the Championship? Who's going to be in the Premier League?
Wait, what?
I'm just talking about all the stuff we have on Sporty TV.
Oh, I said Real Madrid and you went right
back. No, I just
okay, yeah. Go back.
Inserting, but no, lots happening this weekend and, well, lots to talk about. Real Madrid did win, Barcelona won, still 4 points in it. And as our YouTube title sort of reveals, I think this weekend will be the title decider. Did Barcelona win? It's not mathematically it, but I think that's it. If Real Madrid win, there's 1 point in it.
But if Real Madrid win and then Barcelona continue to win all their matches,
No, I'm saying I think if
it's more so if Barcelona win. Then.
If Real Madrid win, there's 1 point in it. 3 games to go. There's a lot more. There's a bigger possibility that Real Madrid can nick it. Still don't think they will.
Well, we will see what happens. El Clásico this weekend. For the 4th time, we will see Barcelona and Real Madrid in action in Barcelona on Sunday at Montjuic. But let's talk a little bit about Real Madrid. Over the weekend, they did beat Celta Vigo 3-2, going up 3 goals. And it looked like Celta was trying to come back, but Real Madrid did clinch that win. And as I mentioned, we did speak to Jonathan Wilson of The Guardian, who wrote a very interesting article about Real Madrid and maybe some of the antics that have been going on at the team this season. Shall we take a look?
Let's go for it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Sara and Alex Ashmore joining you of Sporty TV, joined by a very special guest. Jonathan Wilson is here from The Guardian, a football journalist who has wrote a very interesting article over the weekend. Real Madrid's toxic targeting of referees is a symbol of the Spanish Grande's decline. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Very much happy to be here.
How has the weekend been for you since releasing the article on Saturday? Have you been getting a lot of phone calls?
Yeah, I've had quite a lot of reactions. Some of it positive. The vast majority quite aggressively critical. What was interesting was I did a podcast on Friday where I criticised Barcelona, and this is not a world I normally sort of stumble into. And it's just complete coincidence. I did a Barcelona thing on Friday, a Real Madrid thing, which went out 8 p.m. Saturday night UK time. And so what's been great is I've had both sides sort of hammering me, saying, "Why do you never?" They haven't questioned any of the content of what I've written. Just why do you not talk about the other side? And so it's been this actually a fantastic marketing ploy. Actually, I have that you might be interested in this. So yeah, numbers on the podcast have been fantastic. I think the numbers on the Guardian article have been fantastic. But I don't know how people who work in Spanish journalism deal with that every weekend.
It's been quite crazy, I think, here with all the fluctuation of this season compared to last, with the performances at Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti under a lot of pressure, and the Spanish press, as you said in your article, I think with all the videos that Real Madrid TV have released, it's been something that's built up slowly this season. Was this an article that it was a spur of the moment, or were you, I know you said you don't really put yourself in these sort of situations a lot, but had you thought about doing something like this for a while?
My sort of way into it was really through the Super League. And it seemed to me for a long time that Florentino Pérez lives in a totally different world to the rest of Europe, that a lot of what he was saying was apparently not really being challenged on, was just nonsensical. It makes no sense in the broader context of European football. So I'd had the sense of him as this sort of, on the one hand, he's the most successful football club president in history, 7 Champions Leagues on his watch. If you look at Real Madrid's revenues, they're 25% higher than Manchester City's revenues. And I think, that there are certain issues with those revenues Manchester City have as the second wealthiest club in the world. So on both a financial level, success on the pitch level, he has been extraordinarily successful. And yet, there is this sense of him as this sort of fading. The term I use is from Marquez talking about Bolivar, the general in his labyrinth. This increasing paranoia as he sort of loses his grasp on the world, and the world changes and he can't quite control it as he used to, and just at war with everybody. And it's only really this week when I started to sort of probe into it, I realised just how many different people he's at war with. And I think the referees was the thing I focused on, because we've seen a little bit of that in English football with the fans of various clubs convinced that the conspiracy is against them. I think to an extent that's a facet of social media. It's a facet of VAR, that VAR has sort of created this expectation of perfection, which of course you're never going to have. And so previously decisions went against you was that, referee, it's a hard job, they're unsighted, anybody can make a mistake. But there's this idea that, we got 30 odd cameras, how can they possibly still get this wrong? But I think this sort of practice of habitually putting out clips of decisions made by the referee you've got in the forthcoming game, highlighting decisions he's given against your club, just generates this environment where the game almost becomes impossible to referee properly. And that clearly is massively problematic, particularly given these two clubs and possibly certain other ones in Europe are essentially ungovernable, uncontrollable, because they're too big.
Yeah. I mean, one thing besides the referees, Jonathan, you wrote about in your article is the Spanish media and the coverage as well regarding this specific situation over time. And I don't know if it's the same situation that's received in the UK, because I think here in Spain it's quite obvious that there are media outlets that are, let's say, in favor for one club or the other. I think in the UK it might be a little bit more neutral, as it is in North America as well. But even now we're starting to see, as you mentioned, Marca or AS kind of also focusing on what's going on at Real Madrid now. But do you think that this has also kind of contributed to the problem over time, because it hasn't been so neutral in Spain with the coverage, whether it's in favor of Barcelona or Real Madrid?
Yeah, no, I'm very conscious I'm coming at this from a British perspective, and the nature of British newspapers is very different to the media landscape in Spain, and there are very good reasons for that. Very briefly, the reason that in Britain we have so many national papers is that the country is exactly the right size to make that possible. That because newspapers were growing in the 19th century, as the rail network developed, it was possible to print the newspaper in London, and you could get them to the north of Scotland, to the far southwest, down in Cornwall, overnight. So you could print it, on the Saturday evening, it'd be there on the Sunday morning. And so what happens is, rather than getting regional newspapers or rather than having regional papers that have huge power, the national papers will have the power, and they're competing with each other. It leads to our tabloid culture, which I think is problematic in many ways. It leads to sensationalism, because there's a very, really from the mid-19th century onwards, there's a very intense competition between them. And so you're trying to be the most sensational, the most titillating. But what it means you don't get is a newspaper that is pro-Manchester United, pro-Liverpool, pro-Arsenal. Now, obviously, certain journalists within those papers may have their prejudices and their biases, but fundamentally, the newspapers themselves, the outlets themselves, are equally critical, equally pro, equally hostile to everybody, and that creates a different culture. I grasp that if you're a Madrid-based paper, clearly you're going to have to an extent, be pro the Madrid clubs, in the way that a Manchester-based paper would be pro the Manchester clubs. But I think media has changed in alarming ways over the last 20 years or so. I think it's become increasingly siloized. I think there's a decreasing recognition of the basic role of journalism to hold people to account. And we're seeing that in Britain as well, that there's a lot of playing to the base. And that is hugely difficult and problematic. Now, I don't want to preach about Spanish media. I don't know it well enough. But it's very apparent that certain papers give certain clubs an easier ride than they possibly should.
Do you think that comes from the man you talked about earlier, Florentino Pérez, and we talked about the situation this season with Vinny Jr. at the Ballon d'Or and how they supposedly were going to give the award to him, and then there was a supposed last-minute change and he didn't go, or Real Madrid didn't send anyone to the award ceremony. Do you think it all comes from Florentino Pérez, or do you think there are some deeper-rooted problems here?
I think a lot of it comes from Perez. I mean, it's very difficult to know, but clearly he's a very powerful figure, and the fact he's for all but 3 years of his century he's been the president of Real Madrid. The culture of Real Madrid is a culture of Perez, and acts of petulance like not turning up to the Ballon d'Or ceremony, it's just so childish. It's so contrary to the sportsmanship that Real Madrid used to represent, that idea of señorío, which, I write a lot of football history, and one of the striking things when European football is beginning is how Matt Busby, the Manchester United manager, talks of Real Madrid as they're the model to follow, not just because they've won the first 5 European Cups, but because of the way they behave. They behave with this sense of gentlemanliness, and that clearly is entirely gone. That capacity to deal with defeat, and to accept that, to accept decisions of a jury or to accept decisions of a referee, that is part of what it is to be a sporting institution, and that appears to have been lost.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that there's an argument here, and I'll play devil's advocate, Jonathan, but obviously in terms of Vinicius, he's suffered a severe amount of racial abuse here in Spain. Now, he's not the only player, but that is a big issue on its own. And he's been a big target for that. But in terms of Real Madrid and him going to the Ballon d'Or, was it necessary that he had to? I'm just trying to, change the perspective a little bit here. And I'm just wondering about some of their antics. Do you think that it's fair to say that, okay, if he wasn't going to win, does he really need to be there? Or are you sticking to the fact that it's just unsportsmanlike?
Well, I think the Ballon d'Or is a daft award. Personally, I don't care about it. If clubs want to say we just don't care, we're not going to bother with this, that I think is entirely their prerogative. The fact that they were going to go until they found out that he wasn't going to win, that strikes me as being pretty bad form. Vinicius, from what I can understand, he says that he would have gone. It was the club sort of made the decision for him. I think if you're gonna take the Ballon d'Or seriously, and Real Madrid clearly do, I mean, the way they lobby for it shows how seriously they take it, then you have to accept what the vote comes up with. And to sort of say, oh, Ballon d'Or is brilliant, yeah, we take this really seriously. Oh, well, hang on, we're not winning. Oh, no, that's a silly award. We're not. You can't have it both ways. So you either celebrate it and you participate fully, or you ignore it. You don't sort of celebrate it when you win and then ignore it when you don't.
Now, Jonathan, the big news today, obviously, we've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold finally announced his move to Real Madrid. Where do you think he sits in all of this? What do you think he's thinking, looking at all of this? And for players coming to Real Madrid, what do you think they're thinking when they see all of these videos released by Real Madrid TV? In a way, is similar to the Vinny situation. Do you think that they're affected by that? And do you think they think, do I want to go to a club that has that sort of feeling in the world at the moment in terms of the criticism that Real Madrid are receiving?
I'd be fascinated to know what he actually thinks. I'd be fascinated to know how much he actually knows about that. I suspect most of what he knows about Real Madrid comes from his great mate, Jude Bellingham. So I think his view of the club will be entirely, or not entirely, but very strongly conditioned by that. So as long as Jude Bellingham's happy, I think he'll think it's a great thing. Real Madrid remain Real Madrid. They're still the most successful club in the history of the world. I can completely see the allure of playing there. I'm sure that he'll be very well remunerated for playing there. I'd be interested to see how it works tactically, because I think Alexander-Arnold is an exceptional player, but he presents certain tactical issues. You have to protect him. His passing ability is phenomenal, particularly for a defender. His capacity to take free kicks is phenomenal. He crosses the ball extremely well. I think tactically he's incredibly astute, but you have to have people who cover for him because defensively he's not the best defensive fullback. And you look at Liverpool when they were the most successful with him. He's playing on the flank with Mohamed Salah, who also doesn't do a huge amount of defensive work, but him pushing forward allows Mohamed Salah to come in field, or him drifting in field allows Mohamed Salah to stay wide. That linked up very well. But they're the best as a sort of three on that side with Jordan Henderson, who did all the running for both of them and was very adept at filling the space behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. And Real Madrid have first-hand knowledge of the defensive problems that can cause, because if you think of that game in the COVID season, when Real Madrid beat them in Madrid, 2 of the goals came from Toni Kroos pinging balls precisely in that space behind Alexander-Arnold. So they've got to... He's a great talent, but he's a great talent who's not necessarily that easy to accommodate. And I don't think he's going to be a great defensive presence in the way that Dani Carvajal has been.
Just on Toni Kroos really quickly, Jonathan, you speaking about Trent kind of coming into this side, of course they're getting him on a free, but is this necessarily a player Real Madrid need right now? Do they have a tendency to kind of go for maybe the cheaper option, obviously, versus filling in the spots that they so desperately need?
I mean, I think they went through a phase of actually being very good at that. And I think the sort of rejuvenation of the squad we saw sort of towards the tail end of the Ronaldo period was, and just after he'd left, was actually very impressive. Bringing in people like Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Vinicius, Jude Bellingham. I mean, none of them were cheap, certainly when you take their wages into account, but they were players on the rise. And then they've sort of ruined that by bringing in Mbappe. and suddenly you have 3 forwards who all want to play on the left and cut in field, and we've seen the problems that causes. It's had a huge knock-on effect on Bellingham. So, I assume that's a Perez decision, and that's him sort of slightly ruining the balance of a side in the same way he did when Makelele left, not replacing Toni Kroos, and expecting Luka Modric somehow still to be able to do that at 39. That was always going to be hugely difficult. Whether they thought that Camavinga could step up and do that, but he's not really the same sort of midfielder. So, I would say their priority would be to sort out the forward line, B to find a Toni Kroos figure who can control games in the midfield. Look, it'd be lovely to have Alexander-Arnold. Was he necessarily a priority? Well, probably not.
Now, Jonathan, it'd be remiss of me if I didn't ask you about Negreira and the whole case that went on with Barcelona. Now, we know that there was the payments for an advisory role. From a neutral point of view, looking at how Real Madrid have behaved themselves this season with the videos and perhaps the reaction you talked about, Mourinho coming in to face up to that might of Guardiola and Barcelona, how do you think they should have reacted, or perhaps do you think there's something that they should have done leading into what they've done this season that they should have done something a little bit differently, or can you understand how they've reacted given what happened in the past with Barcelona and Negreira?
Well, I mean, that case I find just bizarre. Bizarre it was ever allowed to happen. Bizarre that nobody seems to be taking any action about it. Though we've seen in England that clubs have employed former referees to be advisors. So Nottingham Forest had Mark Clattenburg there. That seems to me odd, but kind of realistic. If you really want somebody to explain how the laws work, I'm not sure why you need it on a day-to-day basis, as Clattenburg apparently was, or a week-by-week basis. But I can understand before the season starts, you bring in a referee to explain to players, this is going to be interpreted in this way. I think the idea that you sort of isolate game by game and say, this referee will penalise this, but not this, you can get away with, I think that's a very dangerous road to go down. So as a neutral, as an outsider, I find it bizarre that Barcelona are not under more pressure about this. There's not sort of talk of really quite serious sanction. But that doesn't justify in any way the way Real Madrid have responded to it. You press the issue itself. You say, how has this been allowed? Why are we permitting this to happen? You don't then compound that by putting pressure on referees this season.
Just to kind of wrap it up here, to focus on Real Madrid in this season, Jonathan, is it simply because we've seen Real Madrid and the way they've acted on the pitch this season, and they haven't gotten the results, that maybe there is so much more focus on them this season? And it seems like a lot of the media is, let's say, waking up to their antics. We've seen players like Bellingham hasn't been up to his standards. Vinny, maybe the most regressed player in football this season. Obviously, they've been hit with injuries, but the question of Ancelotti and whether he's been staying or going all season, and of course, their results, and then the behavior with De Burgos ahead of the Copa del Rey, and then, of course, the reaction after the Copa del Rey. Is it that also that they're not getting the results, but the actions on the pitch as well are finally being noticed by maybe even their fans now, and just the kind of lack of elegance in their football?
Yeah, I think the two things go hand in hand. That on all sides, that when you're getting results, A, you're less likely to transgress, and B, if you do, people are probably a bit more forgiving of it. So the two things go together, and they both ramp everything up. If they'd won that Copa del Rey, I'm sure Antonio Rudiger would not have been throwing ice at the referee. I mean, what a ludicrous sentence that even is to say. And I think the 6-game ban, I'm sorry, but that's nowhere near enough. You can't be throwing ice at a referee. The idea that somebody who's on the bench, somebody who's been substituted, is literally throwing missiles at a match official. That's not a 6-game ban. That's way worse than that. We've seen things like the Mbappe red card, that foul. The idea that's a 1-game ban. I mean, in England that's a mandatory 3-game ban straight away. I don't think it'd be increased higher than that, but it'd be 3 games. 1 game seems incredibly lax for that. But poor results on the pitch lead to poor behaviour, and they lead to greater scrutiny, and then the pressure increases, and everything is expanded off the back of that.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's been brilliant to speak to you, and if you guys haven't already read his article, go check it out at theguardian.com. Jonathan Wilson of The Guardian, thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right, well, we hope you guys enjoyed Jonathan Wilson, and a friendly reminder again, if you haven't read that article, to go check it out at theguardian.com. Alex, before I come to you, Shantelle, because of the breaking news today and the, so to speak, officialment of it all, Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid, and you are a Liverpool faithful. How are you feeling about this move?
Honestly, first of all, I can be a bit dramatic at times. So when I first saw the speculations, I was like, what? No way. But as time progressed, I started leaning in more. And when he did that celebration, when he scored the goal recently and he took off his jersey, and I'm like, okay, this is confirmation for me. He's hanging up his jersey. No. I watched the video, and I'm a bit emotional, like I saw it. And I'm like, you know what, Trent? Fair, 20 years. You did win 2 Premier League titles. You won the Champions League. You did a lot for the club. And if this is what you think is best for your career, then go for it. I mean, I'm sad to see him go because we're losing a very talented player. But if this is what he wants to do, then all we can do is wish him all the best of luck. And as he said, he wants us to just move past this quickly so that we can, I guess, celebrate. Which is kind of hard because, he's been with the club since he was like 6. So it's not going to be something that we're going to move past, just like that. But it's his decision at the end of the day, and we just have to respect it.
Clinton, you said something about Trent and Alexander-Arnold off air about going to Real Madrid, and your thoughts on how he might do next season?
I just feel like all these Alexander-Arnold screaming for Real Madrid, they are going to regret it. I feel like...
Tell us why.
Alexander-Arnold has gone past that top level football that he plays. If they were going to get him to Real Madrid, I think they are getting a... The example coming to my brain is too bad. I don't want to say it properly, but I feel like all the best part of him is being used in Liverpool, right? And for a club that's as massive as Real Madrid, I don't think Alexander-Arnold is that kind of guy. We need. Mm-hmm. We need somebody. Listen, I'm just imagining an El Clásico.
Lamine is going to have a few.
He's not going to be. Maybe the problem might not be Lamine for him. We are looking at somebody who's.
It'll be Rafinha.
Rafinha is fast,
Rafinha.
right? But I could imagine a Lamine, for example. Listen, my man would literally leave Alexander-Arnold somewhere, and they would literally need a babysitter to come. He's not. I know you're gonna.
No. I was saying right? No. I don't disagree. I was going to say I actually don't think we'll see Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back a lot next season.
You think?
You think
I think we'll see Carvajal start, and we'll see Trent make more of a solid role in that midfield, like we saw he did with England in the Euros last summer. I think it's a role that he can do, perhaps not his natural role, but you see how Real Madrid, I think they've really struggled with that playmaker in the midfield this season. Yes, they've had Jude Bellingham playing as a 10, but Fede is often doing 3 jobs at once and having to look back to his right back position and having to look around him before he can concentrate on his own football. So I really wouldn't be surprised. It obviously depends on who the manager is next season and how, if it's Xabi Alonso, how he wants to manage it. I don't think it will be, but on the off case it is Jurgen Klopp, how he wants to play Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think, especially in the first half of the season, I don't think we'll see Trent play at right back that much.
Do you not think, though, that because, let's say, for example, Carvajal comes back, and the moment a player has this kind of long-term injury,
exactly,
they come back, they're usually not the same player.
They are putting a lot of faith in Carvajal,
Yes.
and as they should be. He's been their captain. He's been, one of the only players that is from La Castilla.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. For his age, it may be concerning for Real Madrid if, let's say, the injuries affect him negatively, because also he's 32, 33 now.
He's not getting any younger.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think that would be the concern, but time will tell. Alex, is there anything you took away from our conversation with Jonathan maybe that you weren't expecting, or?
No, I mean, I think it's a fascinating article. If you haven't read it at home, do go and read it. And it really sort of delves into the nitty-gritty of the politics behind this whole situation, because I think that's the landscape of newspapers here in Spain, whether you want to call them tabloids or not, that there is that bias we see with newspapers. And I think quite often in football, it's more like you're more likely to get a certain sense of tribalism with fans and with clubs, but with journalists, especially in the UK and in North America as well and around the world, a little bit more neutrality. And I think we're slowly starting to see that. And yes, it's been going on for a few more years than we perhaps realise. But the fact that, especially you saw I think it was the AS editor who criticised Florentino Pérez in his article in El País, and how even I think the most pro-Madrid press are starting to slightly criticise Real Madrid and perhaps Florentino Pérez as well. And it's a landscape that's changing, and I think will change quite a lot over the next year, 2 years.
Yeah. Well, Madrid did get the win over the weekend, even though you were actually at that game. It looked a little dodgy maybe in the second half. Iago Aspas coming to the rescue.
Yeah, I mean, it was close.
Yeah.
It was a game of two halves, as the cliche goes. Real Madrid were excellent in the first half. Arda Güler scoring a wonderful goal. Kylian Mbappe adding another 2 to his tally. And Celta Vigo, there must have been something in the dressing room afterwards where Celta Vigo woke up and had that chat with the manager and came into that second half a different team. They played really well. They came back, they scored the 2 goals, and inside 7 minutes as well. And I think it kind of silenced the Bernabeu. You've seen it before, Clinton, with games. I think back to the Alaves game where Real Madrid almost threw it away. Mm-hmm. You can sense that eeriness of oh God, here we go again, sort of thing. We've thrown this away. And Real Madrid, they played well in the first half, but in the second half they really struggled to deal with that Celta attack and almost conceded the third. I think at the end of the day, the win was the most important thing, but it was a scrappy win. I spoke to Borja Iglesias after the game, and he said that there are positives to take from this game, and how obviously he's really enjoying life at Celta Vigo, and how as a unit we're seeing them perform really well. Whereas towards the end of the last season they were looking like they could get relegated.
Yeah, no kidding. It's been a great turn in the season for them, really. Meanwhile, Barcelona didn't make it easy for themselves as they went down to Valladolid, and Denny Rodriguez got the start for Barcelona, another La Masia player, but unfortunately he dislocated his shoulder early on in this one. Really wasn't pleasant to see, but Lamine Yamal comes in, Rafinha comes in, and all is well for La Blaugrana. So, Alex, like you mentioned, 4 points separating these two, and the final Clásico of the season this weekend could determine everything.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at, that start for Real Valladolid, they're probably thinking, where was this 10, 15 games ago where they could have maybe saved themselves? But this is, I always say this is the mark of a good team. Perhaps when you're not playing at your best, you get the wins when it matters most. And Barcelona, I think after that first goal from Valladolid they would have been sweating a little bit and perhaps a little worried, because the pressure was on them to hold that gap and temporarily increase it to 7 points. But they did the job, and they did what they needed to do. And I think, understandably, a little bit of their focus would have been on this coming week in the Champions League and Saturday as well. So no, they did the job, and they kept that gap to 4 points.
Yeah. Clinton, quick prediction on a Clásico this weekend? I think Barcelona go 4 for 4, or will Real Madrid get their one?
It's a very tricky one, Sarah. I mean,
it's early to tell.
We
have a long week ahead.
No, of course, especially knowing that Barcelona, they're pretty much under pressure when it comes, because I think everything is pretty much on them in terms of what they have to win this season. They've already pretty much have Copa del Rey, which was an El Clásico. Very difficult game. We saw Real Madrid literally leading at some point, and it felt like there was something strong coming from Real Madrid. And as usual, they still didn't win it. And this is now, they've had 3 El Clásicos. Now, what is the probability of saying this time around it's going to go to Real Madrid? Of course, when you look at Barcelona, there are some crucial players who are not there, especially the Koundé, whom is literally my favorite player, or second favorite player in Barcelona. Him not being there is almost like a thank God for Real Madrid, because it just means that there's still some level of hope. Of course, Barcelona, they are not the team that will just sit down and say, yeah, we lack this player and we're not going to put up our maximum level of performance. We know what Barcelona are and how solid they look even against Real Madrid. So if you say, Clinton, what is going to happen the weekend? Through this, honestly, from literally my village in Nigeria, we don't know.
Okay, I'll ask you again on Thursday.
Please do. Please
I'll
do,
ask
and
you again
I'll
on
tell you, I'll
Thursday.
tell
Alex, before we come to your 5 goals of the weekend in La Liga, Shantelle, shall we check in with socials? What's going on?
Okay, so we have a lot of comments coming in naturally. So on Facebook, and let me know your thoughts on this. Daryl Smith says Marcelo wasn't good defensively, but was able to play for Real Madrid. Why can't Trent? Markinde says the defensive fragility is there. He can't be worse than Vasquez. Fantastic signing. That's to Trent. LK says Arnold will start over Carvajal because of his age and fatigue rate. And we also had a poll going on. Who will win El Clásico this weekend? 54% says Barcelona, 35% says Real Madrid, and 9% says it's a draw.
That's, to be honest, I don't know whether it's because I think
Yes.
Barcelona will win it, but I think quite a lot for Real Madrid.
No, I mean, but then I think
No
you've got...
Koundé, no Bande. They're playing Inter in
It's true.
Champions League. There's a
Yeah, of
lot
course.
more
Then
affecting
also,
Barcelona.
I know this doesn't mean anything, but I think some people will be thinking, surely Real Madrid don't lose 4 Clásicos in a row.
Like,
I know that doesn't come
the
into
laws,
it. It doesn't
the
mean
laws
anything,
say
but
that
surely
you
that
can't
can't
make
happen.
it 4 times in a row.
No, but then again, I can't even imagine Real Madrid winning. Like, sorry, it's not winning.
I
but-
don't think
no.
they will.
So you don't think Real Madrid will win it?
No.
Damn.
El
mean,
Clásico or
El
La
Clásico.
Liga? Well, neither. I don't know when I...
Alex, what's
He
wrong
said,
with
let
you,
me
man?
double down.
No,
It's-
a draw, maybe.
No, but no, I don't even want a draw in another Clásico. I think that's the most depressing result, especially knowing that this is like the last El Clásico of the season as well. Like, there has to be some kind of, either Barcelona would say, we won you guys 4 good times, or Real Madrid would say, yeah, you won up 3 times, we got 1. And this is still something to go be proud of. But a draw, no, that won't be the best way to end the season of the El Clásico fight.
During El Clásico, no one goes home happy if it's a draw. I'll tell you
Yes,
that
no,
much.
no, I mean, I would not even go home happy either.
Yeah.
Definitely
Okay.
not.
Well, let's see. Alex, let's get to your goals of the weekend.
Let's go for it. I think we were spoilt for choice this week, whereas usually I'm
You're grumpy and
complaining.
complaining.
I'm complaining. Oh, well, I mean, we're rushing.
Oh, we're
into it.
rushing
We're not
in.
even giving
Okay.
me time to talk about
Fermin
it.
on board.
Fermin Lopez is my 5th best goal
Let's see
of
the goal.
the week. I don't think it was an exceptional goal. I thought it was a good goal, good finish from just inside the area. He had to find the gap. First time finish. Yeah, I thought it was a good goal,
It was a good goal.
but nothing special.
No, thank you. You're beginning to sound like me, Alex.
For my 4th goal of the week, I've gone for Kylian Mbappe, his first goal against Celta Vigo. Now, he scored 2, of course, and this one, he seemed to slip, but I think he came over his leg, and this was a nice finish, top corner. I think
You would expect that from a Kylian Mbappe.
you would, but it's still a good goal.
Yeah,
And you
of
still
course.
praise
No,
him
no,
for
I
it.
mean, in all honesty, it was a beautiful goal.
And, well, he did well to keep it on target. I think he did slip there just at the end before
For
he
me,
took
it was the
shot.
control of this that
Yeah.
led up to it is just brilliant from Mbappe.
And, well, number 3, the same game, Arda Güler against Celta Vigo. Arda Güler finally, finding his feet towards the end of the season. He's given the chances, and
This goal is so sweet. Like,
good,
but then
isn't it?
again, this is Arda Güler, though. Like, let's be sincere. This is what I know him for.
No,
And this is
just because you know he can score the goals doesn't mean he just shouldn't get in the top 5 goals.
No,
of the week.
no,
Messi will never get in there.
but you know, actually, that's not what I was even going to. Where I was heading at is the fact that why do we not see him taking this type of chances more often?
2 reasons.
Remember when we were having this conversation about Arda Güler saying he needs to find that confidence that we see in Hendrik that we usually don't get, because there's almost that thing of, I'm not going to be in the midst of all these world star players and I want to start taking all of these chances. You know, I have to. Sorry, let me hear this.
Can I give you 2 reasons?
Tell me.
1, he hasn't been playing that much. 2, when he has been playing, he's been playing on the right. The 2 goals, you saw him score 1. Wait.
But this is the thing, though.
You saw him score 1 against Getafe. I saw him score 1
Of
against
course.
Celta Vigo.
Yes.
He was playing as a number 10 in
Nah,
the
but-
middle,
nah, listen,
where his
listen.
best
hold on.
position is.
No, of course. But what I'm saying is, I've also seen him, even when he's not playing the 10, right? He's playing positions where he's still able to take, like, just shoot. That's what I'm saying. Just because for me, all these are, you are not playing that position, you are not playing, those things, I don't like listening to them because it's about you finding an opportunity, you being in the right position at that point in time. We've seen players switch positions at times, right? You will see if Vinicius going right, going left, or and everybody just a kind of like swapping or covering for even Rodrigo, we'll see. But the thing is, when you find yourself in that point where you know you can just take that chance, this is what I've been saying about Arda Güler and the confidence. Now, normally, you would probably be expecting Arda Güler in this current Real Madrid trying to find the pass. But what has he done here? He scored you the kind of goal that you would see him scoring if he was playing for his national team. And I need to see him doing this stuff more often. And I tell you for free, I'm not charging you for this one. My man will start getting this confidence from Ancelotti or whoever is going to be the coach for next season to say, I know what you can do. Start taking these chances, and we're going to have to start saying, he has the talent in him. This guy is brilliant. This guy is a footballer. Anyways, let's see the first one.
No, I think that it was a fantastic goal, and I want to see him play in that 10 role more because I know that's his best position, and we've seen him flourish in there in the last.
So
couple of games
he plays 10. What happens to Bellingham?
Oof, this is the question. I don't think.
So do you think Bellingham could play from the right and Rodrigo bench?
Well, you could. There is a way of making them both.
Alex, we're going to the next goal if you want to just.
Well,
No, they've already played it. Just so
I don't want to play the next goal yet. Stop it. I'm still talking about Arda Güler.
Yeah.
Stop this nonsense. So I think the thing is with Arda Güler, if you want to play him in that role, you can play the two, him and Bellingham, in that sort of forward role, and then have one midfielder as a sort of pivot behind. So you have someone like a Tchouaméni or a Camavinga or a Modric or a Dani Ceballos as the holding midfielder, let's say, and then the two further forward as 10s. It's fairly unconventional, you could say, but I think given the attacking power that they have, I think that could work really well.
I mean, for some reason, I feel like it's going. I don't know if that. I mean, having Arda Güler and anyways, sorry. I mean, Sara is giving us some.
Well, we'll talk about this goal because we're apparently not got the patience to wait. My second goal, Giovanni Lo Celso against Espanyol. I'll wait for it to start again. I think this was a fantastic goal. The way he weaved through about 4 different defenders and then outside of the boot, curled it into the bottom corner.
Those are the kind of goals I see.
Watch this.
Scoring,
Watch this. 1, 2, 3.
No, okay,
Wow.
yeah. I think that was good.
That was.
I agree.
It was one of those goals I was watching and I was
I
like, oh, and he did it. I mean, a fantastic finish.
But also learning maybe a little 1-2 from Messi there.
Yeah.
There's inspo.
And my number one from the same game, Anthony.
The best player in the world.
Right now.
Was perhaps goal of the season.
Gee, look at that curve.
That curl into the top corner.
No, but this guy is good though. I can't believe what happened to him in Manchester United. Why? Wait, what happened?
20 games for Betis in the Europa Conference League and La Liga, 7 goals so far. Anthony is unhinged
listen.
in Sevilla.
This guy is good. Do you know the crazy thing? Why is even giving me some kind of shivering is the fact that I was part of the people that criticized him in Manchester United.
I
If you guys
remember.
heard me,
I was
I kept
right
on
here.
screaming, this guy needs to get the hell out of our club. But now I feel like I've got to apologize to say, boy, it's actually not your fault. It's the team. It's Manchester United that nearly killed you. And if I said it, if this guy goes back to United, then he's stupid. Like if I was him, I
Might
would
not
not
be
play
up to
here.
him. There's
I would
money
take
involved.
I would take a proper pay cut to just continue here.
Yeah, happiness.
No one is, because I could imagine his mental health, like the state of his mental health currently. Then in reality is.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Damn,
Anthony.
look at such a goal. And he's scoring important goals. You see, it's not just goals, you know.
That's
This guy,
the game winner in the 90th.
Exactly. And this is like the second time he's done it this season. Like he's scoring it's not just ordinary goals. Yeah, the goals are beautiful, but these are crucial goals.
Well, there you go. That is my 5 top goals of the week in La Liga this season.
I think I agree.
With Anthony taking the crown for
Do you-
I
wait,
think
wait,
the
but the-
third time,
Yes.
I think.
But sorry, Clinton just said something that's even more incredible than
I
that.
know.
Did you just agree with Alex's top 5?
Oh, definitely. I think
First time ever.
I
There's
agree
a
with
first.
this.
Yeah, shake
Hold on,
hands.
definitely.
Very well
I
done,
agree.
gentlemen.
I agree.
Very well done. Yeah, brilliant weekend in La Liga once again. We do have to give a quick congratulations to Bayern Munich and Mr. Harry Kane as they clinched the Bundesliga officially ahead of this weekend's Der Klassiker. Clinton, Harry Kane has a trophy.
Finally.
Final. Oh God, I wish there was a music we could play here on this station. Finally, you.
If I was being pedantic, it's actually not a trophy, it's a plate.
Bro,
Alex, just let him have it.
Alex, this is meant to
I'm
be
only joking.
No, but you can't be joking with this kind. This is
Of course, I'm delighted Harry Kane deserved it, and I think this is.
especially knowing that you guys sound alike as well, bro.
I know. You saying I sound like Harry Kane?
Of course, I
Are you saying that just because we're English?
No, it's not because you're English. Like you actually sound like Harry Kane a lot of the
Okay.
times.
Well.
Yeah.
I know we can't touch on this for long, but I think this is. I'm interested to see how this one plays out with Bayern Munich because I, for one, and I think quite a lot of other people are criticising Vincent Kompany's appointment, and I don't think he's done or has what it takes to lead Bayern to Champions League trophies and Bundesliga trophies year after year. Mm-hmm. But it's a difficult crossroads that Bayern are left at because they can't sack him after winning the league. They got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. They did improve as the season went on, but I still don't think he's the man that can take them to European glory, especially, which is for a club like Bayern Munich. The league is considered theirs every year. I know that there is competition for it with Bayer Leverkusen, but if Xabi Alonso leaves, that will get less, and Borussia Dortmund are in a big rebuilding process. So for Bayern, the league and European success is what they expect every season. I still don't think he's the man to do it for them.
I agree. This does mean, though, that there are now only 2 major leagues in Europe that are still fighting to see who will win the title, the Serie A, and, of course, La Liga, with Inter and Napoli both winning. Napoli still keeps Inter a little bit at bay, but we will see as the season winds down. Shantelle, we'll come to you for some comments, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, we had a poll going. Who was your favorite goal for this week? And Anthony won 52%. Okay. So I guess majority agreed with you. Also, I'm seeing where Edward agrees that you do sound like Harry Kane, Alex. That's a bit funny.
Wow.
And we also had more predictions coming in ahead of the El Clásico, and I'm seeing majorities in favor of Barcelona, even though I'm also seeing that persons are saying that this is the easiest match Real Madrid would face against them as well. So there's a bit of mixed views happening there. But yeah, those are the comments.
I think we'll have to reevaluate after tomorrow's UCL match with Barca and Inter. We'll see how the week goes. We'll come back on Thursday and preview El Clásico this weekend. But believe it or not, guys, that's it for us today.
Ooh.
Wait, you have something exciting to say.
I was obviously going to ask you now, obviously, as a very diehard Barcelona fan. If you were to lose one right now, Inter Milan.
I'm losing to Real Madrid because guess what? We're 4 points clear of them. Then I'm still 1 point ahead. If I win the other games, I win La Liga.
I'll make the question harder. If you could only win the league or the Champions League, which one would you pick?
I don't want to.
You have to.
No, I don't want to.
You have to pick one.
Give us one.
I don't want to.
You have to.
I don't want to.
No, Sarah, no, Sarah. No, Sarah,
Well,
Sarah, no, Sarah.
You have to pick one.
Sarah, just pick one. Let's.
I don't want to. I don't want.
Okay, Sarah. A gun pointed.
Oh my! There are no guns on the Sporty Show.
No, I have
This is a safe place.
It's a metaphorical
You think it's a
You have to pick
Well,
one.
okay, we'll come back to this on Thursday.
Now.
No, we're not listening. Sarah, no, give us one.
We have to go.
No, give
we
us
have
one.
to.
Sorry,
Time is
Sarah.
up. Time is
Yeah,
up.
I know what Sarah is
Guys,
saying.
tomorrow
Sarah,
we
this is gonna
are
jinx
back
it.
for the
I know,
colossal clash you've all been waiting for. It's the semi-final, second leg, Barca 3, Inter 3, and we're headed to the San Siro. We'll be back for that one, previewing the match and watching it alongside with you guys. So let's see what that has to bring tomorrow. A quick one from us today, guys, but brilliant job, everyone. We'll be back again tomorrow for the Champions League. Same time, same place. Not same time, same place. We'll be back an hour before the match. Until then, guys, as always, enjoy the football.
Well, Real Madrid this time around, half sense. Ooh!